everyone. This is Pam Pathy with Focus IT, and this is part 3 of our 4-part training call for post-marketing. We're going to be starting this call here in just a few minutes. We want to give everyone a chance to get logged in. We really appreciate you taking time out of your busy day and joining us. Again, this is part 3 of our 4-part training post-marketing training calls, and we're going to be starting this call here in just a few minutes. Again, hi everyone. This is Pam Pathy with Focus IT, and this is part 3 of our 4-part Pulse Marketing training call. And we're going to be starting the call here in just a few minutes. We want to give everyone a chance to get logged in. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day. We'll be starting here in just a few minutes. Thank you. Okay, everyone, we're going to go ahead and get started. Hopefully I won't torture you and keep you on this call as long as I have the prior two calls. To start off with, I just want to do a little bit of a recap because it's very important for the topic of today, which is focusing on your leads. We talked about in our prior call, the very first one, how important lists are. Well, lists are very important, more so when it comes to your leads. The reason for that is for you to market to your leads as a loan officer, you have to be able to identify what type of lead it is. What I mean by that is that I think you would want to keep in contact and market differently to your pre-qual leads than you would want to your hot leads or cold leads or your rate quotes or anything along those lines. I know that there should definitely be at least one distinct difference when it comes to your list and it comes to marketing to your leads. For most loan officers, you definitely want to market different to your pre-quals that are out house hunting versus the rest of your leads. To be able to do that, you've got to be able to identify them. If we can't identify them, we don't know which campaign that particular lead should be placed in. There's a couple different ways that you can do that within our system. We talked about on the prior call how you can create what's called a manual list. It simply means that you go in and you create a list, and we could just call this one hot leads. And you come down and you tell the system this one's going to be manual. And if you have different branches, you would select the branch, and you're simply going to click next. When you do that, what it's going to do is it's going to create a list. The list is going to be marked as manual, just what it means, manual. And over here, it's going to give the list name, hot leads. So that way, you now have two different types of campaigns you can put your leads into. You have your hot leads, you have your pre-quals, and of course, you have the all lead dynamic list that we did earlier. Okay, so all leads means that you're going to pick out a campaign that you're going to place all of your leads into, that those campaigns wouldn't be targeted specific. Let me give you an example. Would you want to put a customer that you pre-qualified into a campaign where one of the emails that got sent out was talks about how to improve your credit score? That would be a little bit embarrassing, don't you think? You wouldn't want to go down that road and put yourself in that situation where they got campaigns that weren't specific to the type of lead that they were. So with that said, you want to make sure that you designate the different types. For the all lead campaign, the one we created, the list, the one we created up here, all leads as a dynamic, this particular list was set up that we told the system every time the list was used that we wanted it to go look at the leads in your Atlanta prospect folder. It was as simple as that. We chose the folder where the files would be. But your lead folder is going to contain all of your leads. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now, we also did state on this particular one, because we wanted to make sure that we set an auto trigger to where when you wanted the lead to fall off the campaign, we also said that we want the loan application field to equal blank, meaning that you've checked the prospect box, okay, for that particular lead, which is done automatically inside Point when you create a record. Everyone knows that it automatically checks the prospect box. Okay, remember, this is my demo site. These aren't normal, but in a normal situation, that would be pre-checked. We want to make sure that the application box is still blank, okay? So what we do is we tell the system to include it so long as the application field 6020 equals blank. And of course, we've talked about this, and I know I keep repeating myself, but it's worth repeating, everyone. When you're inside Point and you want to look up a field ID number for setting criteria on a pipeline view in Pulse or requirements on your lead, on your list inside Pulse Marketing, or you want to do a merge tag into one of your email templates, to look up a Pulse Point field ID number with all of your files closed, you want to go up to Utilities, Load Field ID Numbers, and go to Borrower. When you do, this opens up a blank loan. And inside that blank loan, it provides you with all the different field ID numbers. So if I go up to track status, application's field ID number is 6020. So what I told the system here is when loan application date field 6020 equals blank. So those are the only ones that I want to be included. All of the ones in the lead folder where the application box is blank. Those are still outstanding leads. Those are ones I'd still want to market to. So I have that particular lead list. Then, of course, I created a manual for hot and a manual for pre-qual, because where in point am I, or where in point are you more than me, going to identify a lead as a pre-qual or as a hot lead or as a cold lead? There's nowhere inside the current point system that provides you with a field to be able to mark them, hot, warm, cold, pre-qual, whatever it might be. So your option, this is option 2 of 1. Your first option is to create those manual lists, which we just did. And then with those manual lists inside a Pulse record, when you open up a loan inside Pulse, remember we talked about this last week, you have that wonderful marketing tab. And when you click on the marketing tab, I'm going to apologize, I was doing something, I think it's mad at me. But when you click on the marketing tab, those are going to show up here. And again, manual list, manually done. So it means that I could say, place this loan in the hot lead campaign. Okay, so I get to choose from here which campaign series I want it to go in. Well, what if you don't want to do that? What if you don't want to have to go and open the record in Pulse? What if you want to be able to control that all from the Point application? Well, because Point by default, okay, doesn't give you those designated fields like hot lead, cold lead, pre-qual, rate quote, whatever it might be, you've got to be creative and you've got to come up with your own way to be able to identify them as a company, not as an individual, but you have to do this as a company. So one of the ways to do it is under your track status screen. Everyone knows that you have these wonderful available open fields that you can use. So you could come in here and you could mark one pre-quals, hot lead, cold leads, rate quotes, whatever you wanted to do. You could default these in, of course, from your your borrower master template, so that way everyone's looking at them in the same field. So in Point, under your borrower master template, when you set that template up, you would go to the track status screen and you'd open up the first available field and you'd come over here and you'd set this to pre-qual. And then maybe you'd set the second one and you'd call this maybe hot leads. Okay, and then maybe you do cold leads or rate quotes or whatever it might be. And you can identify them from here by adding them to that template so that every new loan created in Point, these fields would exist, and then you could go in and check the appropriate field. Then I could use these field ID numbers to set up your list and trigger based off that checkbox here. If this field is no longer blank, include this loan in the pre-qual campaign. If this field is no longer blank, include this one into the hot lead campaign. So that's one way that you can do it, and you can bring those in from your borrower master template. They get added to all of your loans going forward, and it works really well. Well, a lot of my customers have already utilized most of those available fields for different tracking of their loans. They don't really want to junk that up on the lead side, and maybe they only have 2 fields available and they wanted 4 categories for their leads. They wanted a different way to be able to set that up in Point. Well, no problem at all. If no one ever showed you inside Point, you have the ability to go up to Utilities, come down here to Custom Screens and Setup, and we talked about this in a prior call, and you actually have the ability to come in and create 4 custom screens for yourself. And each custom screen allows you to add up to 25 fields. So Custom Screen 1, I call Leads. I set Field 1 as Pre-quals, Field 2 is Hot Leads, and then of course I could continue to go on and on and on. Field 3, I could set it up. Whoops, sorry about that. I could go in and set up Field 3, and I could do, rate quote. I could do whatever I wanted to. You could set each one of them up. You can come down and you can set them to text fields. You can set them up best for when you're marking them as text fields, so that way if you hit an X in the field, it would tag it. Let me show you what it would look like. Let's open up this sample. Sorry, that made me kind of lose my train of thought when the screen closed out on me. But anyways, we're in our sample. We're going to come here to forms. And if I come all the way to the bottom, I now have this custom screen, and it's called leads. And I even did one here for lead types. This particular lead type 1 I set up, which was screen 2, I set for pre-quals, rate quotes, hot leads, cold leads. So all I have to do is, if this is a pre-qual, mark the field. If it's a hot lead, mark the field. And then we can build your list based off these triggers. Okay? So that is the first challenge that you have as a loan officer when you want to market your leads. You need to figure out if you want to break your leads out into different types of groupings, different categories. Once you've determined if you choose to do so, if you want to do that, then you know when you go to pick out your email templates, the type of template you're going to be looking for and what groupings you want to put each one of those templates in. I have a lot of customers that don't choose to break them out. They do a lead campaign. They keep it pretty generic because the purpose of the lead campaign is just to keep in contact with that customer until they go from a lead to loan. I have another group that is very targeted specific, and they definitely want to break them out into like hot leads, pre-quals, cold leads, rate quotes, whatever. So a quick recap, and I know I'm covering a lot, but this needs to have the most time spent on it because this is the most important decision you need to make as a loan officer when it comes to marketing your leads. You have to decide if you want to categorize them, and if so, what types of categories do you want? And if you don't, no problem at all. You're going to market to all of your loans that appear under your all lead dynamic list that we created during our first part 1 of our first series. Personally, as I said earlier, I believe that you should have at least 2. You should have a pre-qual, and you should have an all leads. Okay? Now, the all leads can be very generic. Okay? They can be very general ones, and you can even include your pre-quals in that, which means that if they get staggered, they may get a more frequent emails than what the normal ones would get under the all leads. Pre-qual is really important because how many times have you pre-qualed someone, everyone, and they've gone out house hunting and it's taken them 2, 3, 4 months to find that dream home? If you haven't been in touch with them during that time, if you haven't reached out to them and kept that constant relationship going at least every 2 to 4 weeks, when they finally find that dream home, what's the percentage rate? What's the likelihood that they're going to come back to you for that loan? They're going to find their dream home. The realtor is going to go, well, who are you working with? And they're going to say, I'm working with Pam at XYZ Lending. Oh, really? Well, has Pam done a good job for you so far? Well, she pre-qualified me. Has she been in touch with you? Has she helped you with the process? Well, no, to be honest, after the pre-qual, I haven't really heard from her. Well, if you have a loan officer that's not that attentive to you, that's not keeping in contact with you, finding out how your house hunting's going, you know, how seriously are they going to be about your loan process and getting you from contract to closing? I have someone that I use that guarantees a really good turnaround time. I work very close with them. How about if we get you set up with them? I mean, come on, everyone. I hear this story from my loan officers all the time. It happens. You don't want to be one of those that happens to, okay? So you definitely want to make sure, even if you don't market to all of your leads, that you are marketing to your pre-quals and you have a way to identify them, okay? You're either going to create that manual list, take a couple minutes out of your day, open that record in Point, and select to add them to that pre-qual list. I mean, we're talking literally here 120 seconds, everyone. We're not talking a long time, and it doesn't even really take that long. But if you take the time to actually log into the application, find the record, and open it, okay, you could be talking 3 or 4 minutes. But is it worth those 3 or 4 minutes to make sure that you get that commission check once they find that dream home? Absolutely. Again, if you have so many applications you're in and out of every day, adding one more to it is going to send you over the edge. It's going to be the straw that breaks that camel's back. No problem at all. Just get with your Point Central administrator there at your office and let them know that you need to be able to either set up a field under a custom screen or add one of those status fields as a pre-qual, okay? So that way you can create a pipeline view that's going to show you all your pre-quals so that you can also reach out by phone and do follow-ups as well as have them in campaigns. And the only way to do that is you need to be able to identify them. You need to be able to tag them. And then, of course, you want to make sure that you drop them in the right campaign. Okay, I promise I'll stop preaching, but I think you get the idea of how important it is. So that's the hard work. Once you make those decisions and you have those lists set up, now this is where the fun part comes in. I know this, okay, I'm lying. It is a little work on your part, but once you have it set up, then you never have to worry about it because all new pre-quals coming in, all new leads coming in, they're all you have to do is drop them into those campaigns that you spend a little time up front setting up and getting them just the way that you want them. And to do that, you've got to be able to pick them out. So you do have to invest some time. The best way to invest that time is to log into the Pulse marketing site, go to the templates, and scroll down, and you will see that we have out there anywhere between 30 to 50 different templates to choose from. Okay, we talked last week how important it is that even if you don't feel the necessity to market to your leads, which I can't believe you wouldn't, but maybe you don't for whatever reason for the area that you lend in or do business, you definitely want to make sure that you include all of your loans and your birthdays and your holidays, including your leads. So whether you do a special campaign to them because they are a lead, that's of your choice, and that's, either way. But you definitely also want to make sure that they get included along with all your other loans and your birthdays and your holidays. So it is very important to get those Pulse marketing sites set up. I guarantee you it will give you a return on your investment. You will get deals that you may have never gotten if you hadn't had a marketing system in place. So as you can tell, when you scroll through, we have quite a few different ones to look at out there. Some are post-closing. Some are based on referrals. Some are based on credit issues. Some are based on just standard leads. We have one out there that we call Leads, a 5-part series campaign. There's 5 different leads that you can drop your borrower and your co-borrower into. What I recommend to my customers, the easiest way to tackle this, everyone, it's not as complicated as you think it is. You come to your template list and you look at the first one. The name is going to give you a little bit of an insight, but not much. What you want to do is you want to come over here to Actions and you want to click on Preview. And when you do, it's going to bring up a sample on the screen of what that email looks like. Also remember, everyone, that our emails are totally customizable, meaning that you will be able to go in and change any of the wording, change out the pictures, add pictures. To your heart's content, you can make as many changes as you want and make it your own. But basically, you want to get an idea of which ones you think you may want to use. So you need to build that list. So you go in and you would preview it, and you'd read what it has to say. Okay, and this one's a good one. Know what you can afford. Review your credit report. Save for a down payment. Okay, so you have, the best help to best help you on your approval journey. We want to equip you with 3 of the top ways we recommend clients prepare for a positive experience. And these are the 3 ways that we recommend. Hopefully, they're going to go, well, what do you mean? Know what I can afford? Well, they're going to hopefully reach out to you, and you're going to be able to share with them the importance of getting pre-qualified before they go out looking for their dream home. Okay, you're going to talk to them about, everyone out there is entitled to a free credit report. You're going to want to go out and get that one-time free credit report, see what your score is, see what shows up on it. Make sure there's nothing out there unexpected that you didn't know about. And then, of course, you want to talk to them about their down payment, how important it is to save for that down payment and the necessity for them to be able to prove where the money came from, especially if it shows up as one large deposit in their bank account and it wasn't something that gradually built over time because they were smart enough to save on a monthly basis. So you really need, you want to get into those different things. These are just bullet points. You can add to them whatever definitions you want. But let's say that this is one of them that you're considering. Then what I would do is I'd write down the template name. So basically I'd have, I would have the marketing system open. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I happen to like Notepad. Notepad is just a simple application. I can copy and paste to it. It gives me, makes it really nice for me. So I can come over here and I can highlight the template name that I'm interested in. I can come over here and paste it. And then what I can do is I can add my notes. So I want to do that one, and maybe I say these are going to be for, all leads. And then maybe I come down here, if I'm going to be one of those that I like to break them down, maybe I can say this one's going to be for my pre-quals, okay, and then maybe this one is going to be for my cold leads. Maybe some of my old leads that I have from 4, 5, 6 years ago that never really went anywhere or did anything. I have them in the birthday and I have them in the holiday, but maybe I want to market to them, reach back out to them. So basically, you just start that little notepad and you start previewing each one of them. You'll notice that some of them are going to be marked one where it's designated to go to the borrower, the other one's designated to go to the co-borrower, and some are marked short form, long form. Basically, this one is like I was explaining earlier. The other one gave you the 3 bullet points. This one actually gives you the 3 bullet points with those wonderful definitions underneath. So this one's a little bit more informative than what they called the short version. So this might be the one. So let's say that you get to this one and you like that one because that one's has a little bit more information on it and a little bit more self-explanatory to the borrowers when they get it. So you just replace the one you had with the next one, and you're just going to keep working your way down. You're going to find out there that while you're doing this and you're looking at this, just don't stop with your leads, everyone. Okay. Now what you want to do is you want to think about your closed loans. Okay. You have one out there that says 5 things every homeowner may need to know. This is a really cool one, and basically it talks about things like how to unplug a drain, find a wall stud, replace an air filter, shut off your water. These are just cute little helpful reminders, okay? I like this one. I think this one does a really nice job sending it out to my customers maybe about 3 months after closing. So this one here I would probably highlight, and I'd put it under my closing category, and I just go ahead and make a note to myself, 90 days after closing, okay? So I want to send this one out 90 days after closing. And then I go ahead and I move on to my next one, 6 tips to making moving stress-free. This is a really good one. This is in marketing, but it doesn't mean we're marketing to your leads or to your closed loans. You can also do your loans in process. Okay, so for this one here, you can actually come in and say 6 tips for making moves stress-free, and it's a link to a website that talks them through about boxing and all the different things that they need. So you could actually take this one and grab it and go ahead and add that to and create another category. So basically, you're going to want to review them and you're going to want to do the categories. You may not want to get, while you're trying to stay real focused on the lead part of it, maybe you don't want to do your 2 at the same time, and we're going to talk about the closing campaigns next week and do a quick roll-up and a summary at the end of this 4-part call. Maybe right now you just want to stay heads down on the leads. So if you get to one and you preview it and you go, oh, that's good, but it's not really what I would use for a lead, then go ahead and pass that up and go on. You have one here called Advantage of Pre-Approval, okay? This one here is going to be great, okay, because if they didn't end up getting marked as a pre-qual, okay, and they're not a cold lead, all right, they may not, if they didn't get pre-qualed with you already, you definitely want that to fall into your category under all leads, okay, minus the pre-qual, because you're going to identify those pre-quals, so we're going to exclude those from your all leads list if you're going to do the separate categories. So you definitely would want to send out something along these lines of how important it is to get pre-qualified so that they have a better chance of, if they're in competition to make contract on their dream home and they're competing with someone else with the realtor is going to put the contract in front of the person who's pre-qualified, not the one who's not, because this way they know that they've already can qualify for the mortgage that's necessary for the dream home which they found. So you want to make sure that you get that message out to them and they understand it. Okay, your cold leads, okay, those are going to be ones where maybe they had bad credit, they had outstanding collection, things along those lines. You're going to find some really helpful marketing emails out there like this one, credit repair referral. So this would be a great one, okay, to talk about, do you need a credit checkup, okay, and difference with the credit scores and the credit reports. And it gives them a link to the annual creditreport.com website so they can go out and obtain that free credit report. This is a great follow-up to send out to all of your leads that never went from a lead to a loan. Okay, drop that in and get that message out there to them. That makes it really nice. So as you can see, as you go through, you have some really good ones that you can put in. So once you've listed the different groupings that you want to do, then you want to go out there and you want to space them. No matter whether they're a pre-qual, okay, I guess this would mostly apply to the pre-quals. I'm going to stand corrected. One of the most important ones that I think on a pre-qual that you want to send out as a reminder, and this particular one, I would say send it out at least every 2 months. This one's a really good one because what I'm finding with a lot of the customers is they come back. When I was a loan officer and a processor, they would find by the time they finally found their dream home, they no longer qualified for their mortgage. Why? Because they're so excited, they're so caught up, they're so involved, they only hear what they want to hear. They don't hear everything you're telling them. You're good loan officers. You're very good at prepping your customers. You're very good at emphasizing the important things. They're just not really good at hearing you. Okay, that's just a fact of life, and it's just the way it is. So what you want to do, especially on the pre-quals, is you want to send out something like this, ensuring a smooth transition, your standard do's and don'ts. Okay, one of the major ones is make a major purchase. Okay, keeping their accounts, their existing accounts current. How about this one? How many times have you had someone change employers after getting pre-qualified? Okay. I like this one because, believe it or not, it rings true more than once. Okay. How about don't plan a vacation during your loan transaction without informing your loan officer? How many times has your borrower dropped off the radar for a week or 2 weeks and you weren't able to reach them and you needed some paperwork from them? They finally reach out and say, oh, I'm on vacation. You'll have to wait till I get back. And now everything's been delayed 2 weeks and you're coming up on the end of that. Especially this is a great tool not only for your pre-quals, but it's also a great tool to send out to your loans in process because now you're coming up on that contract expiration date and you're not going to make it because they chose to take a vacation because they just weren't thinking. Okay, so we have some different versions of that. That is a great one to include in those pre-qual campaigns. And of course, last week we talked about how important those holidays and birthday emails were. And then as you're going to go down, you're going to find that we also have emails that are focused on after closing, as well as you go down. And this is my demo site. One of the things that we're going to start sending out that would be great for your leads, everyone, as well as they are for your entire database. Excuse me. So you include everyone in your database and your birthday and your holidays. We're going to start doing a monthly newsletter. That would be also a great thing to include your leads in as well as all of your loans in. We talked about, we have this wonderful 5-part lead campaign. You'll be able to come in and be able to see one of these. We had these done by an outside firm that they put together some really useful information and links to some very helpful articles and stuff that you're going to want to check out on this 5-part lead campaign. This one's a great one to send out to a lead. Congratulations on taking the first step in your mortgage process, which is getting pre-qualified. So, this would be a great first email to send out on your pre-quals. And then, so you could send this one out, shortly afterwards, the do's and don'ts, maybe, 4 weeks later, then start to drop in a few others. On the cold leads, all of your other leads, this is a great one. What affects a credit score? You want to, if they're having issues with their credit score, it's too low, you can't do anything for them right now, that's a great one to go back to and remind them on all those cold leads. So spend some time, go through the different ones, see what we have available out there and which ones would suit your purpose. Now, a lot of our customers will come back and they'll go, Pam, I used a different marketing system. And in the marketing system, there were some emails that were sent out that I really liked. I liked the format of them. I liked that they went out on my leads. Can I use those in your marketing system? Absolutely, you can. You can send them to us, and we'll be more than happy to build them out in the system for you and make them available on your site. We're not going to build them out into the system that makes that particular one available to all of our customers, all using marketing. It gets built strictly in your marketing site and gets made available to you. So that's another great resource if you find that you don't find enough out there on the ones that we're currently delivering right now that meet your needs. Another resource when it comes to marketing your leads is the internet. Remember, everyone, the internet is a great tool. You can go out there and you can type something as simple as free, and all of our email templates are done in what's called an HTML. Okay, sorry, did that wrong. HTML code. Okay, so you can do free HTML mortgage. Uh, Boy, templates. Wow. Okay, I'm really tripping over myself on this one. Okay, so type something as simple as free HTML mortgage templates. And if you go out there, you're going to find links to different templates out there. If you find on the web a particular template or an example of a template and you like it, no problem at all. If you would like to get that made available in your Pulse marketing system so you can include that in your lead campaign, all you have to do is either send us the URL. Well, we ask you to do a couple things. We ask you to send us the URL so that we can go back out and take a look at it, send us a screenshot of it, and then just let us know that you would like to know if we could build this out into your Pulse marketing system so that you can include them in your lead campaign, and we're more than happy to do that for you. Okay. Everyone markets their leads a little differently, as we've been talking about, everyone. So you want to make sure that you, again, think about those different ways you want to categorize your leads if you choose to do so. Then you want to pick the type of templates that you want to market to them. Once you have your list, whether you have a single list or you have a multiple list, one for your pre-quals, one for your cold leads, one for all of your leads, what you're going to want to do next is you're going to do one of two things. Okay, you're either going to want to go into the system based on the videos that we've done and how you can go in and edit and set up your own and go in and get them set up and running. You're welcome to do that, not a problem at all. It's your marketing site. You're free to go in and do everything and be totally hands-on if that's what works for you. But we know that not all of our customers are tech savvy and aren't comfortable doing that. The other option you have is you can send us the list with the different categories, the templates you chose, and how you want those templates timed. You want this one sent out 2 days later, 2 weeks later, 2 months later, whatever might work for you. We're happy to go in and set those up for you. Your third option is email us and tell us you'd like to set up a training call for Pulse Marketing. You'd like to have someone walk you through setting up your first couple lead email campaigns, and then you'd be comfortable doing the rest of them on your own. That's what we're here for, and we're more than happy to help you in any way at whatever level that you wish us to do so. So with all that said, let's take a quick break here and see if we can go over and see if anyone's posted any questions. The first one is can you explain again the difference between a dynamic and an automatic? I sure can. Not a lot of my customers use an automatic list. It's out there and it's available, okay? Basically, let's go ahead and let's set up a test for an automatic and we'll go down and choose it. I'm going to put it to my Atlanta branch and I'm going to go next. When you go into an automatic list, the first thing that it does is it asks you to set the criteria to when you want that particular loan added to the list. So you can come in here and you could choose, I want it added when it's in the Atlanta prospect folder. Okay, and we can brief you what leads are in that folder. And we were testing some new code. We're getting ready to release some new code to our marketing site next week. And we were testing that. And my site got redirected to a different database. And I have a feeling it's going to trip up on me. So I'm going to apologize. I thought we switched it back. I didn't have time to test it before the call, but you would preview it. It would bring up those loans, and you would simply save that. Once you save it, it's going to take you to the next screen. On the next screen over here, it's going to show you the requirements that you set for when you want that particular loan added to the list. And then over here, you're going to set the requirements to when you want it removed from the list. Does that sound familiar, everyone? It sure does. We did automatic because at the time we thought there was a need for it, but there's really not a need. because basically the dynamic does that for you. So on the dynamic side, we told it what folder we wanted it to look at, and then we told it the criteria in which we wanted the loan included in the folder and which loans we wanted excluded. So we were able to do that all through the dynamic list, not requiring the necessity for an automatic. So that's kind of how the automatic works. You set criteria to when you want it added, criteria to when you want it deleted, but you can do all that under a dynamic list. So my most popular ones are my dynamic list, my external list, and my manual. I have very few clients, if any at all, using the automatic. There is a rating button within Point to rate a file as cold, warm, and hot. There used to be, and I thought, it's still there. You're right. Yes, those buttons are there. And yes, that can be used. Thank you, Chris, for pointing that out. I forgot about that. Those buttons are there. I will look up the field ID numbers for those and make sure we're pulling those fields from Point over into Pulse. No one's asked to use these. But if we're not currently pulling those fields, I will get those mapped over. So if these were the buttons that you wanted to choose versus setting up the custom screen or the statuses, if you wanted to jump in here and select them from cold, warm, and hot here, you can do so. You can't add prequal or anything, but you definitely cover 3 of the categories. So thank you for reminding me about that, Chris. I'd forgotten about that. But yes, those are also available to you there. Wonderful. Do I have any other questions regarding leads, anything specific that you were hoping that we covered on this? A lot of the important parts we covered in the first and second part of our calls, on our first and second call that we did on how important it is to create the leads and the list and the different ways to break those out. And we talked about how to go in and on our call last week to set up those birthdays and those holiday emails. And next week we'll talk a little bit about the closing ones, and we'll kind of do a summary. So as you can tell, the last 2 calls get to be, to your advantage, a little bit shorter than the first couple when we have so much to cover. So that's really what I wanted to show you today on today's call. I wanted to keep it simple. And of course, do remember that all of our emails that get generated, that get sent out from our Pulse system, have that unsubscribe link at the bottom. So go ahead and start marketing to every lead you have, no matter what the age of that lead was. And if they choose to not be included in any of your marketing campaigns, they're simply going to click that unsubscribe option at the bottom of the first campaign that they get, that they no longer want to see any future ones. And when our system goes in and it generates the next list, it will exclude them. And remember, we talked about this in the first call too, that when our lists get generated, the first thing our list does, once it goes into the memory of the server, is it goes to your opt-out list and it removes any of the email addresses that have chose to opt out. And then the next important thing it does is it goes in and it scrubs your list. Okay. Now, you can't market to your leads if you're using a single data folder, everyone. Okay. If you're using a single data folder and you haven't broken them out, or you haven't done well to go back and check off your different statuses and stuff, you're going to run into a little bit of a difficulty. Talking with my loan officers, what I found is that their biggest concern isn't where they did, attempted to do multiple deals with the same borrower. Okay, that never rang true. One of the biggest challenges that my customers are having is they will create a lead inside Point, and they're not familiar on a lot of the abilities to come up with different scenarios within Point. The scenario screen isn't very user-friendly. So what they'll do is they'll create a lead in Point, and they'll work it all up for a conventional loan. Then they will copy that lead in Point. They will create a second loan for that lead, and they will change it up for an FHA, and they may do it again for a VA, or they may do it based on different loan programs with a Pacific investor. Whatever it is, they end up in the leads folder for the same borrower. They end up with maybe 2 or 3 possibilities. The borrower will choose one of them. They will take the one that they've chosen and they will move on. and they will convert that lead to a loan, and it will move from their leads folder into their loans in process folder. But those other two that they did, those other two, they're still hanging out there. Okay, they didn't go back and delete them. Okay, they weren't using a marketing campaign at the time. They didn't change the status on it. They didn't go back and delete it. They didn't do anything with it. They just left it. Okay, well, if they go to market to their leads and they put them in a lead-driven campaign, okay, and you have your database is not junked up, but it's consumed with that type of a scenario, what's going to happen is you're going to send out leads. You're going to send out lead campaigns to potential leads where you've already done a loan closing for them, and that could put you in a little bit of an embarrassing situation. So you're going to want to think about the condition of your lead folder, not how old they are, because old leads are, they're great if they never converted to a loan. If you attempted to do a loan for them 2 or 3 times, that's no big deal because we're going to strip out the duplicate email addresses. But if you happen to use Point under that unique format that I've had a couple of people share with me over the last 6 months or so on what they were doing, that is going to present a challenge for you. There's really no way for us to be able to make sure that if there was an actual loan that closed, for them to get dropped from that campaign because it's only going to look at it at a loan level. Let's see what other kind of questions we have. Is there a way to view the prior webinars if you missed them? Absolutely. Everyone, we've uploaded all of the webinars, and I'll be uploading this one also to a YouTube site, and I will send you the link to this site right after I get this particular one converted to an MP4 file and get it uploaded. For everyone that attends the call today, I'll retrieve all your email addresses and I will send you this link, and you'll be able to play back all 3 recordings at your convenience. Could you show the scheduling of a series of emails to a lead or a set of leads? Absolutely. The way that you would schedule those, okay, is going to be based inside the template. So let's say that we're going to use our all leads. We're going to come over, okay, and we're going to choose the first template. So let's say that we choose this one. We do 3 ways to prepare for a mortgage. So basically, I'm going to open that template. I can either click on the name here or come under Actions, okay, and I'm going to place it into my all lead list, and I'm going to come over here and go Next. Okay, the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to say that I want this to come from the loan officer. And if I'm setting this up for my company, okay, and I have leads in my database where the loan officers no longer work for me, I still have a right to market to those leads. Those leads were created inside my program. They were originated and created in the system when the employee worked for me. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, if the loan officer is not an enabled Pulse user, they're no longer with me, then I'm going to tell it to use a particular default email address and a name. Normally, you're going to put your name, your email address, and the company name, and have that email go out under that. So that way, if that happens to hit just at the right time, everyone, then you're going to be the one that's going to get that lead. Down here is where you choose who you want it to go to. If you're going to send them out personally addressed, you're going to want to select a borrower or co-borrower. If you want them to be generic, then you can send them out to the borrower and the co-borrower under the same one. Next week, everyone, once we talk about the closings, which is going to be very short and sweet, then we're going to get into talking about how to market to your realtors, some of the things that you may want to consider. So we'll talk about the other selections on that drop-down list next week, give you a little teaser there. Okay, on the lead ones, if they're coming from the loan officer, as a loan officer, I'm definitely going to want to be copied on that. So when it goes out, I know it goes out, and then when the borrower reaches out to me, I'm not going to be caught in the dark and not know what they're talking about. I'm going to know because I'm going to also receive a copy of that. You're going to come down and you're going to drop it into the production mode, and you're going to go Next. This screen here is where you set up the actual email template itself. Again, you are welcome to come in and make whatever changes you want. You can upload photos. Those can be done through the image, insert icon, whatever works for you. Tie in the links to your social media pages. But the question that was asked, but because I had to jump through those screens and we had a few minutes and wanted to touch on them, was, how do you schedule them? The schedule comes here. So basically what you're going to do is it depends on how you're going to track that lead. Okay, I put this particular campaign into the list that was all leads, and all leads is coming in from my prospect folder. So in this particular case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down and I'm going to do a calculated, and I'm going to tell the system to look at the point field 4993, look at the prospect date, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell it to use the condition called today difference. Today difference is just what it means. It's going to take today and it's going to do a difference to today's date to come up with the solution that I want. I know that sounds kind of weird. Basically, I'm telling it to take today's date and subtract 7 days. Okay, so take today's date of November 20th, subtract 7 days, and come up with the new date. Take that new date and go compare it to all of my leads in my leads folder. And any of the prospect dates, field 4993 contains that date. Then I want you to trigger and send out this email, because this particular one, 3 ways to prepare for mortgage approval, I wanted to go out 7 days after I made contact with that lead. I'm only going to do one condition to this because I'm already conditioning the if it's no longer a lead to be removed from the list, so I don't need to take that into consideration here. I'm going to set it to tell it that I want it to go out at 7 a.m. in the morning, and I'm going to tell it that I only want it to go out one time because I only want a lead to get this one time only. You use unlimited when you're doing birthdays and holidays. So I have this one set up and I have it set for 7 days. I'm going to go next and it's going to take me to my final screen. This is my summary screen. Now, if I'm setting these up, okay, I'm adding it to the list, so the list is going to tell me what category it's going in. Okay, so that I'm going to see, because from my screen, I'm going to see that it's assigned to the all leads list. Okay, but if I want to see which ones are going out at one time, okay, you have to be a little creative. Okay, so what I would do, everyone, is I would come in here and I would put day 7, okay, and I do 3 ways to prepare for mortgage approval. So that way, if I give it that name as the template name, that's going to go out 7 days after. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go next. And I thought I saved that, so I'm going to apologize because I jumped back and I guess it didn't. Okay, so now when I go to my template list, I'm going to have, okay, my 3 ways to prepare for mortgage approval, and it's going to say 7 days out, and it's assigned to the all leads list. So you asked, could you show the scheduling of the series? This is how you're going to schedule them. So this one would say day 7, the next one would say day 30, the next one could say day 45, and they're all going to be under your all leads. You have the ability up here under the filter to choose the list type, the list name. So you could come down here and you could say all leads and apply. And what it would do is it would show you all of the templates you've assigned to your all leads, and then it's going to sort them, of course, alphabetically. So it's going to pick up day 7, day 14, day 30, and then you'll be able to see here the order in which they're going to go in, and you'll be able to see how many days you have covered from the prospect data out. So that's how the scheduling works in our system, and it's just a couple helpful hints on working around and how to make that happen and make it easier for you. I want to make it as easy as possible, so I tell my customers when it comes to the template name, be very descriptive. You don't have to stick with what we called it. Go in and add your own. So you're going to want to make sure that you put, especially on your leads, birthdays and holidays, you already know that, but on your leads and your after closings, you're going to want to go ahead and in front of them put day 7, day 14, whatever it might be, and then you'll be able to group them. You can filter by them, but one of my favorite things to do, everyone, and I'm going to jump out of this and do a refresh here real quick, is to come in here and actually create a folder. So I can actually come down here and click on create a folder, and I can add a folder, and I can call this Pam's Leads. Okay, so that way what I can do is when I pick a lead that I'm going to want to use, I can select that template and I can move it into that folder. So now when I want to see, I don't have to go to filters or anything. I can simply come over here to filter folders, choose my folder, and then it's going to show me all of the leads that I've designated, or all the templates that I've selected to go out on my leads. And from here, it's going to show me what list I'm using and the scheduling of those. So I hope that helps and gives you a quick way of being able to mark them and categorize them. Any other questions that I can answer on today's call? Feel free to go ahead and post them into the question box on your GoToMeeting window. Okay, everyone. Well, if there's no other questions I can answer during today's call, I'll get this one converted to an MP4 file. I'll get it uploaded, and by end of day, I will get out to you the link to that website in case you want to go back and play back today's call or either of the other two. Next week's call is focused on talking about the marketing to your closed loans. I'm enhancing that because we've covered so much, and I've not done a series of these calls before, so I was kind of guessing on how I was going to break it out. So next week we'll talk about the closed loans, but that'll be very brief because we've pretty much covered that already. So what I'm going to add on to next week's call is I want to talk about your realtors, and I want to share some ideas and things like that with you to be able to build that realtor database and to be able to market to them. So I look forward to next week's call, and hopefully you will consider it a good ending to a 4-part series. Okay, everyone? I really appreciate your time. You have no idea how much I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day and joining this call, and I look forward to everyone attending the final call next week. If I don't have the opportunity to email or talk to you, I hope everyone on the call has a wonderful Thanksgiving. Thank you, everyone. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.